It says in Hebrews 10:24 through 25, "Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." As the day draws near, could we be more divided? We're divided in our thoughts, in our beliefs, in our actions. It seems like it's hard for us to come together. What if we came together as the body of Christ for one day? What impact could that make?
Take these hands, lift them up, but I have not the strength to praise you enough. But I have nothing
Those were a lot of my favorite songs. I Saw the Light. You know, I'm thankful for those that are here right now, and I'm thankful for those that are watching. I'm sure, Sandy, I'm sure you are. For those of you watching, what's going on, everyone? My name is M.King, and this is Motivate'18. And you know, we've been doing Motivate now for about 3 years, and you know, throughout the years, I've learned things, and throughout the years, I've grown as a person. But I think this year I've grown the most. I have certainly learned to not save things till the last minute. And I'm just telling you, if I can get an amen out there, I did some serious last minute things. And I'm not saying I'm paying for it. I'm just saying I'm very much learning to try to plan things ahead. And I did plan things ahead, it's just I executed at the last minute. But that's okay, you know, we're here, you're there, and God is still good. But you know, for those of you out there wondering just what is Motivate all about? What is the purpose of this whole event? This whole event was something God gave me back in the year of 2015, and it was just this idea of, we go to church, we sit down, we hear God's word, but then at the end of the day, what do we do with it? And so I started to think to myself, you know, what if there was an event where you would hear God's word and then immediately afterward go apply it? Now, if church was like that all the time, would a lot of people come? Who knows? But that was just something I felt God putting in my in 2015. Now, did I think God was going to have me step out and do it in 2016 during our first event? No, I wasn't expecting that. But that's just how God works. And through the years, we've done different versions of this. We did an event in 2016 that didn't get recorded, but we had a good time. We had pictures of that. We did one last year that we filmed in here. And this year, we're trying to live stream it. And so, I think we're doing a good job. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we're keeping step. But you know what? For those of you out there wondering just what is Motivate a part of, Motivate is a part of M.King Media. M.King Media Inc. actually became a nonprofit this year. M.King Media Inc. is a nonprofit organization that wants to use Christian media, like this broadcast, to get you closer to the person of Jesus Christ. There's so much media out there in the world that is pulling you away from Christ. Sure, it's got a great beat to it. Sure, it sounds awesome. Sure, the lyrics are something you can get into. But at the end of the day, is it pulling you closer to Jesus Christ? I know as a Christian, I see a lot of things out there and I wonder, could it be better? Could it be improved on? Like my broadcast called The Friday Blog, which is getting ready to enter its 6th season this year. The Friday Blog is kind of a tongue-in-cheek broadcast that takes everyday things that you would find in your house, or everyday things that you would find anywhere, and uses them to show you how you can apply them to your everyday life to spread the word of Jesus Christ, to spread the gospel, to spread the good news. Another thing that I do is I make animated stories. Animated stories are tied into another branch of our media, collage media. Collage media is media that is made, like when you were in school, you would make different type of collages. You would cut pictures out and paste them and make different pictures. Well, collage media is pretty much a bad idea. This day and age, we use the term photoshopped. But the thing with collage media is God will put a vision in my heart. And I will take that vision and I will create it. And then I will take that collage piece of media and add a story to it. And that's where we get our animated stories from. Another thing that I do is, pretty soon we're going to have TV shows and movies. That's something I feel the Lord leading me into, to create these different types of things that will allow us to not only bring us closer to Christ, but bring our children closer to Christ. That's one thing I would like to hopefully do. If not by the end of June of next year, then by the end of June 2020 is to make a children's show. Now, I'm not talking about like Barney or Teletubbies or Sesame Street. There's nothing wrong with Sesame Street. I love Sesame Street. I grew up on Sesame Street. I don't watch Sesame Street anymore. But I think it would be great to have a children's show that not only kids could watch, but adults could watch and still get something out of. So those are just a few other things that God has put on my heart. And that's kind of what M.King Media is. If you ever visit mkingmedia.com, which I'm sure you're watching us on right now, you will find a lot of interesting things on there and a lot of different types of media on there that I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. Last but not least, if you were watching Motivate, and you've probably been on our social media, you've probably seen Motivate t-shirts. Now, I'm not wearing a Motivate t-shirt because mine is on order. Stacy's is on order. So I'm wondering, is yours on order? We are pretty much raising funds as a nonprofit organization to bring funds into our organization so we can continue to make more Christian media. And so the way we're doing that, t-shirts. It's not a bad thing. It's an awesome teal t-shirt. As a matter of fact, I'm going to walk out of camera here and show you this. This right here is actually, you're probably wondering why I'm not wearing this. This is our old t-shirt. And you can see on the front, that's our old logo. We don't use this anymore. When our event started, it was Motivate Phoenix, and now it's just Motivate. But these shirts right here are 100% cotton. The new shirts are actually going to be 100% cotton, well, 50% cotton, 50% polyester. So more of a lightweight material, easier to wear, better to sweat through, and that sort of thing. And just going through trials and tribulations this last year, I knew God wanted me to do a different sermon. Now, the first year, the sermon was simply titled Equal. Last year, the sermon was titled Carry Your Cross. But since last year's Motivate, it's been on my heart to do a sermon that can help Christians continue to carry their cross in the faith. So would you say this is a sequel to last year's sermon? You could. But I'll put it to you like this. As we look in the Bible, we see various heroes of the faith. We see Moses, we see Joseph, we see Elijah, Abraham, Jacob, and many others. As you think of these people, I want you to do 3 things. I want you to find your favorite hero or heroes of the faith. Second, I want you to take that favorite Bible character and I want you to do something that is probably going to make you cringe. I want you to ask yourself this question. Are they a person just like I am? Now, some people would say, no, they're heroes of the faith. But there are some people that are saying, I don't know, I could probably relate to somebody like maybe Joseph, or I could relate to Abraham, or I could relate to Jacob. But ask yourself, are they a person just like me? And the next thing I want you to ask yourself is this. Do I have what it takes to stand next to them in the kingdom of heaven? Think about that. Some of you, a lot of people are probably out there saying, no, not really. I couldn't stand next to Moses. I couldn't stand next to Elijah. But you know what? Somebody might see differently. About 5 years ago, I went to a church. About 5 years ago, I was actually in the military. And I went to a church out there called Life Church. And a sermon was being preached, and the pastor said something that has never left me. I wrote this down in my devotion, and I ran across it a few weeks ago. And it was a quote that went like this. I am not a loser trying to be a winner. I'm a winner choosing not to count their losses. Think about that for a moment. This is how God sees us. But do we see ourselves like this? So folks, if I could give this sermon one word, and I love making one-word sermons, if I could give this sermon one word, the word would simply be this: thrive. In Webster's dictionary, the word thrive is a verb. It means to progress toward or realize a goal, despite or because of circumstances. Now, that's probably not the way you thought the word thrive should be defined. But check out this definition: to flourish, to prosper. Now, there's a definition I'm sure we can all relate to. But think about that. To realize a goal despite or because of circumstances. And then to flourish or to prosper? Now, in order to help us understand this word and how we can better thrive as believers, I have chosen 2 heroes of the faith. I would never ask you to do something if I don't know. I've already chosen 2 heroes of the faith. The 2 heroes I have chosen are very similar to one another, and you'll see how in a moment. The 2 people I've chosen are Moses and Elijah. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you 3 different points, all of them coming from Moses and Elijah's life, Moses and Elijah's walk, to better help you thrive as a devout Christian. We ready? Okay, hold on, because this is going to be quite a ride. The first point is this: embrace God and His calling. It says in Exodus 3, verse 1 through 4, and this is about Moses. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that, though the bush was on fire, it did not burn. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. We see here in Exodus that Moses answered the call of the Lord. And you might be saying, well, it's just a bush. But think about this. As the story goes on, from that one bush, Moses would eventually go on to, despite his own flaws of not being able to speak, he would embrace God's calling on his life and stand before Pharaoh and free the children of Israel out of slavery. But Moses couldn't have done that if he didn't first answer the call of the Lord. Remember, it said, Moses, Moses, and then the Lord said, Moses, Moses, and then Moses said, here I am. Let's take a look at Elijah. It says in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1, Now Elijah the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, As the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. Now you're probably wondering, why did I start there with Elijah? Why didn't I start at the beginning? Well, that's just it. That is the beginning. Elijah appears on the scene in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1, just like that, word for word. There is no real history on Elijah, other than the fact that he's a Tishbite from Tishbe. There's no real talk about his past or former life, or where he or the friends he had, or where he grew up, or who his mom was. That's how Elijah comes on the scene. But from this, we can get much. We can get from this that Elijah has very much embraced his relationship with the Lord, especially if he is telling the now king of Israel, who is worshiping Baal, by the way, who is the God of rain, the God of thunder, the God of dew, that the Lord says he will not bring any rain on the land. You got to be a bold man to do something like that, to stand before a king and tell him this is what the Lord says, even though you believe that. How many of you guys would go on and tell your boss that you don't think they're going to have a job tomorrow, or you don't think there's going to be rain? Pretty sure none of us would. The point I'm trying to make is this. When the Lord calls you to step out of your comfort zone and do something outside of yourself, just know that what bewilders you does not bewilder God. What surprises you does not surprise God. What embarrasses you does not embarrass God. And what you fight, God does not fight. There's no spot, there's no blemish, there's nothing people can say that can stop God from using you the way he wants to. The second thing I want you to realize about thriving, and this is going to be a tough one, is you have to embrace God during the trials. When a lot of us go through trials, our first thing is to want to run from the trials. We want to turn the trials off. We want to go in a different direction. We want to go do something else. We don't want to go through the trials. And we'll even pray against the trials. I know I've been there. But it's sometimes God's sense of humor to not end the trial, but to push you further into the trial. It's like if you're going into a storm, and it's like, well, it's getting ready to rain, God. It's getting ready to lightning and thunder. Let's go inside and take our cross and, be comfortable. And God's like, no, let's keep going. Let's get rained on. Let's get some lightning. Let's get some thunder. Let's get a little hail while we're at it. And you're sitting there, well, Lord, I don't really want hail. I don't really want lightning and thunder. I'd rather just go inside, kick off my shoes in front of a nice roaring fire, hold my cross, and just give God glory. But that's not how God thinks. And you know what? Moses can agree with you, and so can Elijah. Check this out. Moses had to embrace God during the trials. Well, what trials? His own past, killing the Egyptian. That's in Exodus 2, verse 11 through 15. His trial with his speech. That's Exodus 4, verse 10 through 13. His trials with Pharaoh. That's Exodus 7 through 12, with the 10 plagues. As well as his trials with leading the very people he came to save, the children of Israel. Let's pick this up. Exodus 33, 16 through 23 says this. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? And the Lord said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked because I am pleased with you you, and I know you by name." Then Moses said, "Now show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion." But he said, "You cannot see my face, or no one may see me and live." Then the Lord said, "There is a place near me where you may stand on the rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in the cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I pass by. Then I will move my hand and you will see my back, but my face you must not be seen." Now you're probably wondering, where did that come from? Well, Moses had taken the 10 Commandments and he'd gone down the mountain, and there the children of Israel had taken all their gold and melted it down and made a golden calf. And Moses was so distraught that he threw down the 10 Commandments and went back to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God, to speak with the Lord. And he was so distraught that he asked God to now show me your glory. Even Moses had trials and tribulations. I've heard the number of children of Israel was about 1 million. I'm from a town of 1 million people. I can't imagine dealing with all of them. You've been called to lead them where? And especially you got to stay in the desert with them for 40 years? Ooh, Jesus. But Moses had things he had to deal with. 1 million people. You think you have problems. He had 1 million problems. But still God showed himself faithful. Now Elijah, he had to embrace God during trials. But what trials did Elijah go through? He fled from King Ahab after complaining no rain. That's 1 Kings 17 through 1. When he was being fed by the ravens because he fled, in 1 Kings 17, 2 through 6, the brook dried up. That's in 1 Kings 17 through 7. He ended up going on to being fed by the widow, by the way. When the 450 prophets of Baal came against him, that was some of the trials he had to deal with. That's in 1 Kings 18, 22 through 40. As well as when he fled from Jezebel by the threat of being killed. That's in 1 Kings 19, 1 through 7. So Elijah didn't have it easy either. He had to go through trials and tribulations. Can you imagine there being no rain, so you have to go chill by a brook and have a raven feed you? And then the brook dries up. Then you have to go to a widow's house, and she has to make you a cake. And then the next thing you know, you have to deal with 450 prophets of a false god, and then you're running from a Jezebel. Can you imagine that? A Jezebel wanting to kill you? But Elijah had to deal with that. This is what it says in 1 Kings 19, 10 through 13. A message came to Elijah from the Lord. He said, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" He replied, "Lord God, who rules over all, I have been very committed to you. The Israelites have turned their backs on your covenant." Talking about you worshiping Baal. "They have torn down your altars. They have put your prophets to death with their swords. I'm the only one left, and they are trying to kill me." The Lord said, "Go out, stand on the mountain in front of me. I'm going to pass by." As the Lord approached, a very powerful wind tore the mountains apart. It broke up the rocks, but the Lord wasn't in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord wasn't in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire came, but the Lord wasn't in the fire. And after the fire, there was only a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his coat over his face. He went out and stood at the entrance to the cave. Elijah had his fair share of trials as well. He called down fire in front of the prophets of Baal. Now I'm pretty sure he feels like a failure. He's running from Jezebel. He's running so fast, so hard, he's tired. God sends an angel to give him a cake and a jar of water. And because he felt like he was the only one, he's now haunted. He doesn't know what to do. But God was faithful to Elijah because Elijah was faithful to God. You see how that works? God was faithful to Moses because Moses was faithful to God. You've got to embrace God through the trials. Through all the trials Elijah and Moses had to face, God had an answer. With Moses' speech, God had an answer. With dealing with Pharaoh, God had answers in the 10 plagues. When dealing with Moses' past, God even had an answer for that. And the answer was that he used him. That may not sound like an answer, but that's an answer. Even dealing with the children of Israel, God had an answer to show Moses his presence. When it came to Elijah, God had an answer. He had an answer with dealing with King Ahab. He had an answer with the brook drying up to meet the widow. He had an answer to the prophets of Baal, his presence coming down through fire. He had an answer when Elijah ran from Jezebel, and that was feeding him through an angel and meeting him at Mount Horeb, the same Mount Horeb Moses met God. That's the question you need to be asking yourself is, do you have a Mount Horeb? A place where you can go to meet God when things get crazy. I know in my life, I worked at a job. I worked in corporate America for a little bit. And this job was not doing what I thought it was going to do. It sounded like a great opportunity on paper. But when I got there, things didn't quite work the way I thought. I was training for this position, and this position didn't happen. And then the next thing I know, I have to move to another position. But the problem is, it's July, and this position is not really going to stand up or start up until September. So I'm sitting here day in and day out and day in and day out, bored out of my mind doing training. And I end up having a partner. And the partner is supposed to be part of a team with me. Long story short, I learned something from corporate America. There are some people who are out to help you, like my manager. And then sadly, there are some people who are out to hurt you. And unfortunately, I got hurt. And sadly, I ended up losing my job and having to go into a season of unemployment. I had to embrace God. Being unemployed for 22, 24 days was hard. I'm telling you, your sleep pattern gets thrown off. Your routine gets thrown off. It's not the same. Nothing is the same. I found myself sitting up day in and day out, wondering, Lord, how are you going to do it? I even found myself looking at YouTube videos of people who had found jobs, just having this hope, some type of hope that God was going to fulfill a promise of giving me employment, just like He helped those others find employment. You've got to embrace God through the trials. You'll never be able to see the answer through, and you'll never be able to see what's next. The third and last point you need to remember to thrive is embrace God and His victory. Now hold on. I didn't say embrace God and your victory, because it ain't about you. I said embrace God and His victory. Let's listen, this is what I mean. At the end of Moses and Elijah's lives, both of them in their own eyes could have seen themselves as unsuccessful in ministry. Moses, he was told to speak to the rock in the sight of the thirsty children of Israel. Instead, he hit the rock with his staff 2 times. Many believe because when God told him to do it the first time around, it worked. So why not do it the second time? But whatever the reason, Moses' disobedience of striking the rock as opposed to speaking to the rock cost him his chance to go into the promised land after leading the children of Israel for years. Can you imagine that? You spend years on the backside of the desert, and then you got to deal with Pharaoh, and then you got to deal with the children of Israel in the desert, and you don't get to go into the promised land. Tell me Moses did not feel like a failure. You got to deal with people. You got to deal with a community the size of my hometown, Jacksonville, Florida. Can you imagine that? What about Elijah? He had probably one of his lowest points in running from Jezebel in his ministry. Was feeling like one of the last prophets, one of the last mighty men of God. And here he is being strengthened by an angel of the Lord, seeing the presence of the Lord at Mount Horeb, and receiving instruction to eventually pass on the torch to Elijah. Can you imagine that? You go through trials and tribulations. You're at the lowest point of your ministry, and God strengthens you and then says, oh, by the way, you're going to pass the torch on to someone else. You don't think failure is going to go through your mind? God, did I fail? God, did I do something wrong? God, you can use me a little bit longer. Why are you passing the torch on? Can you imagine what Moses and Elijah must have felt? A successor? What do you mean I can't go in the promised land? Can you imagine Moses, who made one hasty mistake based on past events, just like he was hasty with killing that Egyptian soldier, and now he's not going to the promised land? And another Elijah, one moment calling down fire from heaven in the sight of the children of Israel, in the sight of all the people, and now running from his life, scared and afraid, like a chicken with its head cut off. Do you ever feel that way? Like you've just made a mess of things, and that you no longer have the favor of God in your life. Like God is telling you that you are telling yourself, God ain't telling you, that you're telling yourself, maybe you need to just throw in the towel. Or that you just messed up so bad that God can't use you. Have you ever felt like that? You messed up so bad that God can't use you? Man. Or the times when you feel like God must have passed over you to give somebody else a blessing. I felt that way. When I worked in corporate America, I had a friend of mine who ended up becoming an attorney. And of course, I had my desires, of course, M.King media. Long story short, he left to go full-time to become an attorney. I ended up being fired. There was a part of me that wondered, God, don't you remember all the times I've been faithful to you? M.King Media this year marked 5 years. And during that time, during the month of May, M.King Media turned 5 years old, May 20th. During the month of May, I was unemployed. Do you think I felt like celebrating? All the things God had done? No. God, really? I've been faithful to you for 5 years. I don't take a paycheck from this. I have never taken any type of paycheck from M.King Media. But over the last 5 years, I have been through my fair share of trials and tribulations. And you mean to tell me, God, I'm supposed to spend the 5th anniversary of this ministry unemployed? It seemed unfair. It seemed like God passed over me. But you know what? To you out there who feel that way, to you in here who feel that way, fear not. Fear not. I don't have time to read the full text, I'm about to wrap up. But in Luke 9:28-36, it talks about Jesus on top of a mountain with Peter, John, and James. At this point, he has reached what some would call the height of his public ministry. Listen to that. The height of Jesus' public ministry. At this point, he is up there. And the Lord, God, wants to prove something to Peter, John, and James. That Jesus is not a continuation of something, but is giving rise to something new and important. And who do you think God brings to the party? God wants someone to represent the law. Who do you think God brings to the party? Well, if you go on and read Luke chapter 9:28-36, it's Moses. And God needs somebody to represent the prophets. Who do you think God invites to the party? If you read Luke chapter 9:28-36, it's Elijah, showing the disciples that the law and the prophets all give way to Jesus. Do you understand me? Weren't we just talking about the different things that these men have gone through? Weren't we just talking about the fact that these men must have felt like failures towards the end of their ministry? And now all of a sudden you mean to tell me God saw them in a different way than they saw themselves? Remember this in closing. When you look at the heroes of the faith in the Bible, do you believe they are people just like you? And do you believe you'll stand next to them in heaven? Think about this. Because I wrote this down in my devotional 5 years ago. And I think about it very differently. I'm not a loser trying to be a winner. In God's eyes, I'm a winner, choosing not to count their losses. If God could do it for Moses and Elijah because they embraced their relationship, they embraced God through the trials, and they embraced his victory, why can't God do it for you? But you have to embrace your relationship. I told you, God was faithful to Moses because Moses was faithful to God. God was faithful to Elijah because Elijah was faithful to God. You've got to understand, you're not going to see the Lord running away from him. You've got to run to him. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for just allowing us to come together for this event. I thank you for allowing us to do this, Lord God. Lord God, I thank you that in life things will not go our way. I can speak to that. In ministry, things have not gone my way. But God, when our idea and our plans fail, you always have an answer for us. And God, we thank you for that. God, I thank you that every single person here in this room and every single person watching this broadcast, God, will be blessed. That God, they'll want to hold on to their relationship with you. They'll want to hold on to the trials in order to see your victory, God. We thank you, God, that you allow each one of us to have our Mount Horeb, where we'll be able to see you and know you for who you are. That God will be able to see your glory, whether we have a job or whether we don't have a job. Whether we feel like we're being treated fairly or being treated unfairly. God, thank you that we will hold on to you. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so you know what? The next thing we're going to do, because this event is worship and community service, the next thing we're going to do, and I have no problem sharing this with you guys who are watching, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do this. And some of you might be like, well, that's not community service, but hey, God has no problem with it. We're going to leave here, and we're going to get all this stuff packed up, because you have no idea how much stuff we have to pack up. We're going to leave here, and I have in my heart to go down to Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I'm going to buy lunch. I don't know whether you guys want to eat. You guys want to eat? You guys, no? Don't want to eat? No? Maybe? Possibly? Yeah? Maybe? You want to eat?
I'm dating my husband.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. I'm going to go down to Chick-fil-A. And what my heart desires to do is, I'm not only going to buy lunch, but I also want to put down $200 and pay for other people's food after us. That's what I want to do. So, I know you're wondering, is that going to work? Is that going to happen? You're going to have to tune into social media to find out, because this broadcast is about to end. But you know what? I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. I want to thank you, Sandy. Sandy, you want to come back up here or something? Okay. Sandy is going to come back up, and she is going to do another song to close us out. But I want to thank you all for watching. I really do want to thank you all for just being a part of this. You take this and put it in there?
Yeah, put it in there.
Over here?
That's good.
I want to thank Sandy for doing this, and then afterward,
Thank you for such a nice message. Appreciate that. Stood before creation, turning your spoke the earth, motion, my soul in your hands.
This is an M.King media production.